Oh, okay. Okay. We have to do. Stop.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday night. You know what that means? It's time to check the report. I have done absolutely no research until right now. And I don't... How about you?
Minimal.
Minimal. All right, so we're well prepared. My name is Waylon Temple Valley, and this is...
Somebody who would rather not have a name at this time.
Wow. All right. Well, folks, all right, so we're gonna be doing these at a glance, blitz style live, rapid fire. All right. So what are we looking at first? Who do you want to look at first? Click one. Click one, click one, click one, click one.
Okay, sure. Let's look at this young and upstart team and get your take on the Joe Burrow's experiments.
Yes, I talked to the owner of the Joe Burrow's experiments, and that is the team name they've decided to go with for the rest of the year. Joe Burrow, of course, being their standout quarterback. This team...
Who are they facing this week?
They are facing Joe's team, which is the current basement dweller of the league at 0-3. I think the only winless team in the league at this time.
I think that might be true.
Oh, that's rough. All right. Nonetheless, even though they are the lowest rated team in the league, the Joe Burrow experiments are the lowest scoring team in the league. Their one win comes largely due to a lot of luck and a lot of bad injuries for their last week's opponent, but a win is a win nonetheless, and you take them any way you can get them. All right. So, what happened? What did you do?
I'm trying to mute it.
Yeah, that's gonna happen sometimes, folks. You get what you pay for. We're free. All right. So, you gotta love mama sometimes. Anyway, all right. So, for the Joe Burrow experiments, and well, I think for a lot of teams this week, it comes down to injuries and who can play and who can't. Tennessee and Pittsburgh game is postponed.
Yeah.
Apparently Minnesota was cleared to play this week. Anyway, let me focus, okay? All right, so it depends on who can play. If Michael Thomas and Sanders and Mostert can all play, I think that the Joe Burrow experiments run away with this one. But if they cannot, I think Joe gets his first W on the season.
You know, I think that's an okay assessment. I still think Joe has a better shot than that, however, because these guys are all coming off of injuries. I think they don't want him to go back out on injury immediately after coming back off of injury, and I think even if they're out there, they're going to be ran light. I think relying too heavily on players that are coming off of injuries is sometimes something that teams do in times of desperation, and you wind up with too few points.
Well,
so I think that Joe still has a heck of a good shot at walking away with his first win here.
He might, but if we're talking about injuries, Joe's got a lot of questionable, doubtful, 2 injury reserves on the bench. Now, granted, those are not starting players. But that team is banged up, so I don't know what he's got to replace them. A bunch of who's. A bunch of who's. But I think we've rattled on that one long enough. Let's get down to somebody else. Let's see here. We got Charlie's Cobras and Jonathan's Fine team up next on the screen here. So I'm diving right in. Charlie's Cobras heavily favored and coming into the matchup with a better record. But I see some questionables on their side, and I see a fresh team on Jonathan's side. But what's your take?
Honestly, I don't think it matters that there's questionable players over on Andy's side. I think the fact of the matter is, when we're looking between the two teams, that even though Jonathan's team has a couple players that have come out there strong the last couple of weeks in Edwards-Helaire and in Fuller, that their upside is not going to be enough to be able to overcome players like Prescott. And even if there's a couple questionable players out there, there's still some players on Andy's bench that can make up for them. And he's still going to be able to come away with the win in this one.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at it, I think the weather also favors Andrew's team, as Andrew's team is playing indoors, and there's a lot of severe weather alerts on the other side. No Minshew Magic this week?
No Minshew Magic this week.
All right. Then we go on to our third matchup.
Third matchup of the week, we're going to be looking at Beck's team versus the Blaviken Butchers, ran by Justin. Now, this looks like it's going to be a matchup between one of our undefeated teams versus a team that's only won one so far. However, that team with the one-win Justin team is the favorite in this, and I gotta say that I think they might be handing Becca her first loss in the league so far. If we're looking, this is a pretty close matchup when it comes to, I think, talent, and we might finally have somebody that can go toe-to-toe against Russell Wilson's upside in Patrick Mahomes.
Do I go now? My turn? Okay, it's my turn. It's my turn. I got the nut. All right. So, yeah, I gotta say, I'm kind of favoring Justin's team here. When I look down at that roster, you have Patrick Mahomes, Odell Beckham Jr., Michael Gallup, DK Metcalf, let's see, Duke Johnson, Devin, or I think his name is Devin. Singletary.
Yes.
Devin Singletary?
Yes.
Greg Zuerlein, the Buffalo Bills defense. This team looks incredible. I don't know how in the world they have a losing record after 3 weeks. That team, on paper, sounds unstoppable to me. However, Becca's team, undefeated. And you are undefeated until proven otherwise. And, you know, I don't know how she's doing it, but she's apparently doing it well. So, I think it's going to be all you can handle. Now, I do notice this thing that's interesting here is that Allen Lazard...
He underwent a surgery this week and is out indefinitely. As of today, it was just announced. So she's going to have to find a replacement for him right now before the matchups this weekend.
Well, let's see who's sitting on the bench. Well, Michael Williams is on the bench, but he's questionable. Kenny Golladay, though, very good wide receiver for Detroit. He was not playing earlier this season, comes back in this week, and big things are expected. He's got a clean bill of health. So I think she'll definitely be able to fill that slot. So, but I'm still going to say Justin's team. I wonder if that's been a tough schedule this year. Or...
This might be our...
This could be game of the week material right here. We're just looking at them for the first time. Alright, so we're going to move on to the next ones. We have the behemoth that is the secondhand Sotans, owned by Stephanie Brune, and we all might lose to the Bruins this year.
Hashtag we lost to the Bruins.
Hashtag we might lose to the Bruins.
And versus Scott this week, some purple and orange logos for both of them.
Yeah.
And
interesting uniform choices.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with purple and orange. My bedroom's purple and orange until I graduated high school. Looking at both these teams, Stephanie's team is the favorite once again, by a lot, and I don't really see anything to argue against it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to shortchange. Because you know the one time that we shortchange them, it's going to be the upset game. But...
Right. Anything could happen. You could go out there, and you can have 3 of your players somehow magically get broken, concussed, have their knee go out, all within the first quarter.
Could happen.
It could happen.
It's fantasy football.
And anything could happen.
So, but barring an act of God, a force of nature, a Monday Night Miracle. I'm out of cliches. At this point, nobody's going to pick against Stephanie until she actually loses a game. And that just may not happen because this team is talented, it's deep, and it's just like it's a steamroller, and it doesn't respect anybody.
Coming down to our final matchup of the week.
Final matchup of the week, and my understanding is that you have a little bit of insider information on one of these teams, so I'll let you take it away.
Well, the final matchup of the week is Dice versus Tank's team. And this is actually, I think, our closest matchup of the week, percentage-wise, as far as the Yahoo odds. It's gone back and forth a few times throughout this week over who's going to win by about 1 to 2%. As tinkering goes between the two teams. So it's really going to be a toss-up, I think, at the end here. And it's all going to come down to which of these guys makes their overage, who plays just a little bit better than the other when they go out there. It's really going to be one of those games that you have to watch and see who comes out at the end.
Let's just see here if I can derive anything. I would note that Tank's team's only loss is to the juggernaut that we just discussed.
This is true. However, Dice's losses was to Stephanie, and a match which included 3 acts of God where players were concussed, had their knee blown out, and things like that happen. Those players that were all broken are not playing this week, you will notice, and have found replacements that look like they can stand up to the players on Tank's team.
So are these replacements parts the real deal, or did we go to the scrapyard?
These were replacements that were on the bench. They were on the bench last week, and if you will recall from the report, did even better than their broken counterparts, according to.
So they come straight from the factory. They don't come from the store, and they don't come from the scrapyard.
That's correct.
Well, in that case, I think I'm gonna take Dice in the matchup.
I'm not gonna bet this week.
You're not gonna bet this week?
No, not gonna bet.
All right, so there you have it. We've done our very best. It was a little bit short notice, but hey, you get, like I said, you get what you pay for, and we're free. And if there's something that we missed, you know what you're going to have to do?
Check the report.